Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the every other Sunday Rooftops of America live stream. I'm your host, of course, Sky Marthaler. Thank you very much for being here. Tonight we're going to talk about the adventure in New York last week and the adventure coming up in California in 1 week. So let's start with my guest tonight, or my co-host tonight, which is Caboose Brewing, Das Gut, their German-style Pilsner. Caboose is, I want to say they're out of Virginia, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, Vienna. Good old Vienna, Virginia. Right outside of D.C. Actually, I had to run down there yesterday to pick up a camera. And while I was there, I stopped in one of my favorite places, Total Wine, and picked up some good brew. So it's your classic German Pilsner, crisp. Very good for a summer style beer, and it's quite enjoyable. So let's see who's on. Bill, hello. Thanks for being here. Hi, Eric. Hi, David. Hi, Traveling Around Man. Good to see everybody tonight. Thanks for being here. So let's talk about Mom Marcy. Let's talk about last week. I left Friday about 11. Actually, I was on the road by about 10:30 and drove up to good old Lake Placid, Keene area, and stayed at a little cabin, a little set of cabins called the Van Hovenberg Cabins, owned by a very nice gentleman named Wayne, who was awesome, who actually let me fly the drone on his property, which was great. And filmed Friday night. When I got there for a couple hours, then I got an early start on Saturday. It was, we're talking early start. I woke up at 2:30, ate some oatmeal real quick, and headed out for the trailhead. The cabins I stayed at were only a few miles away. Actually, I went to the Adirondack, or the trailhead area for Marcy, the night before, just to check it out, because hey, if you're going to start early in the morning, sometimes it pays to know where you're going so you're not screwing around in the dark. And went there, checked it out, talked to a couple folks, asked about the conditions of the trail, and they were like, it's a little bit wet, because it had been raining and all that. And got there Saturday morning, bright and early. Wasn't bright at all, dark and early. I stepped off at 3:35 in the morning. And let me tell you, Mount Marcy, that first 2 miles, that's awesome. But man, once you get over that first crossing of Phelps Brooks, or the Phelps Brook, that's where the real work begins. And I will readily admit I underestimated Marcy. Everybody is saying, like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's a tough little trail, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like cruising along and everything was going great. And I'm like, no, this ain't so bad. This ain't so bad. Like, I know it's going to get worse. I know the elevation's going to go up. And it did. But it wasn't the elevation that was the pain in the ass about Marcy. It's the damn rocks. And it was wet. Oh my God. And the funny thing is it wasn't even as wet as the day before, but it was still wet. Like, there was water constantly coming down the trails. So I kept slugging away, and God, I just kept slugging away. And it was the temp when I started was 58 degrees. And so I'm wearing a long sleeve thinking, all right, this will be perfect. But man, humid, just ungodly humid, like more humid than Puerto Rico was a couple weeks before, or the month before. It was wild how humid it was. Um, Slowly but surely, though, I made my way to the summit. I did. I had one crisis, um, one little crisis of faith, I guess you could call it, where I was probably about 5 miles in, and I'm sitting on a rock on the trail, and I'm just like, this sucks. I soloed it, so like I had nobody to really encourage me on, or I, didn't have anybody to talk to. Like, so I'm literally like slugging away on my own on this, and it was at that point I'm like, man, this thing is just like, why am I doing this? One of those sort of things. I think that happens every time you go into something super ridiculous, like super big, and the way I made my way through it is I had actually put a whole lot on that Saturday. Like there was a ton of expectation because I'd laid this whole hike with like, this is the proving ground for Whitney. Like I gotta, I have to show up. Like I got to film stuff afterwards, and I have to, A, B, C, and sitting on that rock, I realized, like, you know what? The only thing I have to do today is none of that other stuff. I just got to get to the top of this mountain, and then I got to get down safely. That's all I got to do. Like, I don't have to do anything else. Like, I have the whole day. You started early for a reason. Use the time. Use the time. And that actually changed my perspective then. And I didn't feel so concerned about, oh my God, I got to keep pushing. I got to keep pushing. And at that point, so for like the next 2 miles up, 2.5 miles up, I was just able to, I wouldn't say necessarily enjoy the hike, but I definitely took the pressure off the hike. And that made a huge difference. It was still rough. It was still tough, but there are other people starting to show up on the trail. I think it was safe to say I was easily the first idiot on the trail that morning. Um, but, I got to the summit. It took me, I did about a mile an hour. So it took me 7 hours from the time I stepped off to get to the summit. And then I chilled out there on top of Marcy for an hour. Like it was gorgeous. Like I couldn't have asked for better views. It was stunningly pretty. You could just see the whole expanse ahead of you. Like no matter where you look, amazing view. Chat it up, folks. Shamelessly plug the channel. Talk to the summit steward, a guy named Fenton. If anybody's going up to Marcy and you see Fenton up there, say hello. He's a cool kid. He's North Carolina State Wolfpack, studying, I think, environmental science or something like that, but really cool kid. Enjoying his time up in the Adirondacks. And then after an hour up there, filmed what I needed to film, took the photos I needed to take, got some calories in me, and then I started on my way down. And even on my way down, I just took my time. It was interesting. Like when it was all said and done, including the hour on the summit, it took me 15 hours. That is not where I wanted to be. Like I was like, I'm going to be off this thing by 1:00, easy. And that did not happen. The humidity never laid off, and it actually did end up raining. Like it rained and flooded all the trails again. And I was in rough shape when I came off the trail, but hey, I made it. I never felt that I couldn't. So I always felt like, if I could have probably put another 2-3 miles down, kept on driving if I had to. Interestingly enough, though, I ran out of water a half mile to the summit, or half mile, not to the summit, the half mile to the trailhead on the way out. So for that whole event, I drank 1.5 gallons of fluids. I've never, ever consumed that much water or electrolytes or fluids on any hike. I don't even think I drank that much for Ironman. It was so humid. Um, and I just, the water just kept disappearing. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. So, I was asked, what's really funny about the other thing I thought was really funny about Marcy is you get back to Marcy Dam. Once you get back over Phelps Brooks, or that crossing of Phelps Brook, and you're sort of back on easier trail, but definitely after Marcy Dam. It reminded me of like you have to hike up from Marcy Dam, and I just was like, isn't this punishment enough? You have to pay that final toll to get out of Mount Marcy, but overall, definitely on the docket right now for the hardest Eastern summit that I've done. We'll see what Katahdin holds in store. So what did I learn? One, it was a huge solo effort, and I was able to do it, and I was able to capture the stuff I wanted to film. I was able, the next day I felt actually fine. Was sore, no doubt about it, and my feet were still swollen because it was so wet. But I was able to get up and film the next day and do everything I needed to do. And interestingly enough, I was not able to get the whole thing filmed, but the piece I have yet to film of New York wasn't actually up near Lake Placid or that area. It's actually down by Saratoga Springs area, the Saratoga battlefield. So there will be a return trip to New York to film that bit, probably in the middle of August. But the Adirondacks as a whole, I got everything I needed. Filmed in the locations I wanted to film, flew the drone, got some great footage, had an epic day on the mountain. My water consumption was really good, even if I did run out a half mile from the trailhead. I was regularly consuming water, which is always something that I have to work on. My calorie intake was really good. Starting the morning out with oatmeal for a change really actually was a smart play. Like that sat well in my stomach. And then, I was able to consume calories throughout the day with no real issues. Gear felt fine. The day pack, and I did find a better way. I proved a new process for filming on the summit. Instead of hauling a big camera up there, I was able to use just the GoPro 11 and a little completely wireless mic set that worked super well, super convenient. So huge savings on weight for that. And overall, I'm proud of, it went well. It could it have went better? Yes. But overall it went well. The other thing that I noted was the training really has been paying off. So yes, I was on the mountain much longer than I expected to be, but all the work with the hiking, the rowing, it's paying off. It made a difference that day, and it made a difference the following day. So I'm excited. I can say that I passed the test. I wouldn't say I aced the test, but to use an old Army phrase, I am a go at this station. So I think this puts me in good position for Whitney. And Whitney, I'll also have 3 other people with me. So there's a lot to be said about having hiking partners to, keep that esprit de corps up to keep the morale high, and we're all in it together, and that changes the dynamic. But man, it was nice to prove to myself that what, I can hang out there for 15 miles through some rugged stuff and make it. Okay, so let's go. We've got a ton of comments, so let me start. Hey Pretzel, how you doing? Yeah, Catatan's still on my list too. Marcy hike. Oh, I just basically told you. Adirondack Lodge for my stay. It did look like a really cool place, and maybe another time if I go up there, I'd consider staying there. When I looked at places, I wanted a place where I could just sort of throw out all my gear and all that, and the little cabins near the Van Hovenberg Training Center were really convenient. Shorts and short sleeves for the hike. I did not get cold on the hike. I got hot due to the effort. Yeah, I wore long pants and long sleeves. I expected the Northwoods, and I didn't expect the humidity. And so I'm glad I packed a short sleeve shirt that I eventually switched out to on the way back down. When I got to Indian Falls, I switched out shirts, and that did make a difference. Yep, Eric, Marcy sucks. That's exactly what I said. Yep, Marcy sucks. It's one of these. It's right up there with Boundary Park or Boundary Peak, where the agreement that we had as a group was like, never do Boundary Peak again. And I'd throw Marcy in there. I'm like, I won't do Marcy again. But if somebody came up with a big old sack of money and said, hey, we're going to fund your series. Here's $50,000. You got to climb Mount Marcy again. You can bet your bippy that I will be slugging my way back up that mountain. I just got done going to the Black Mesa, Oklahoma. I finally got to go. Black Mesa's a fun hike. David, I look forward to getting back to Black Mesa and refilming that particular episode. That's such a cool. I think the Mesa is awesome. I just think that part of Oklahoma, it's so. I love westerns, and that part just screams like Wild West. How long did it take you to? Oh, Pretzel, you would have kicked my butt. You did it in 2/3 the time I did it. Ron Man, Marcy was much tougher than I expected. Those rocks are relentless. Yes. And that's the thing that actually I don't. It's one of these hikes where it's like 20 years ago, I think I would have been a whole lot quicker. Whereas now I am more cautious coming down things. So I took more time. Because part of it is like I'm by myself, so I'm soloing, so I need to be, super cognizant of my actions. And second, hey, Whitney's in 2 weeks. I don't want to get injured. So, whereas if I would have been like 25, that would have been like all the other 25-year-olds I'd seen just bounding, or running down the mountain. So, but I don't go down as fast as I don't go down mountains as fast as I used to. Pretzel, the downhill part was easy part for me. I did have a problem with my shorts and underwear there. I was sliding down the water rocks and scraped a hole in both. Man, that sucks. Bill, I have arthritic knees. How hard was the scramble down? I'm fine going up, but down is tough. Man, I'm glad I had my trekking poles. Bill, I would say if your knees are like mine, and you're probably, I don't know if I have arthritis in them, but they don't work like they used to. If you got your trekking poles and you're very comfortable with them, and you take your time, you'll be okay. Peter, my wife and I did Marcy in the late fall with wet slicklies on the trail. Oh, man, that sucks. The view is awesome. I almost thought I wasn't going to catch the view because there was a cloud that came in, but because I'm super slow, by the time I did get to the top, it blew out. I can't imagine that with the leaves, the slick leaves. Surprisingly, most of the rocks, almost all the rocks, I didn't have any slippage on the rocks. No matter, the water was crazy. Wasn't as crazy as it what could have been. Like, I will say that. But I only slipped um, once. Once. I did see multiple other people slip, but I was being super, like I said, slow and steady, slow and steady. Um, I didn't get to see the dinosaur tracks of Black Mesa because of bad storm. I will go back in the fall soon. Yeah, I think I saw them. It rained like crazy when we were in Black Mesa, and it was one of the great ironies of filming there, where it just rained and rained, and then the sun came out as soon as we were wrapped. But I think I need to go look at the dinosaur tracks more closely too. Um, so I think I saw them, but I'm not sure. Let's see, where was? Oh, West Virginia. Cool. Um, I might actually go to that one. Not saying because you're not going to it, Pretzel, but I might actually. I should probably go to that one. I got to redo West Virginia anyway. Um, so I also had bad knees. Did not find Marcy too bad, but I went up and down through John Brooks Lodge. Um, there were a couple people out there that were just crushing it, just crushing it. Um, I like I said, the next day the training's paying off though, because my knees weren't swollen. The only thing that was swollen was my feet, and that's literally because my feet swell when they get super soaked. That's a problem I've had since my Marine Corps days. So for 30 plus years. Eric, this past Thursday, I summited Wheeler Peak, Nevada. Nice. Wheeler Peak is out of Eli. There is such a cool mountain. That is on the list of peaks I would like to go knock out at some point. I attempted Boundary, but halfway had to turn around because of thunderstorms. That sucks, man. Um, you've been around, Eric. Nice. Whitney Portal to do recon, and then I went to Badwater Basin, Death Valley. Very cool. That's awesome. Pretzel, I got a National Park High Point. I'm going to get later this year. Mammoth Cave National Park. That'll be the Wild Cave Tour. I'm also going to go on the Star Chamber Tour. Mammoth is really cool. My son and I have been talking about getting back into that area the next time we really go back down to Nashville for stuff, and going out there. And it's such a cool area. So, Eric, is that the one that's the high point for Great Basin National Park? Yes. Wheeler is the tallest standalone, like complete peak in Nevada. It's a gorgeous mountain, and it rules its area, like hands down. So, Eric, I am a bit envious of your Wheeler Peak, Nevada adventure. So, so that was New York. Filming wise, if you're interested in that, I was able to get out to the John Brown farm, and I filmed Fairmount there. And then after I wrapped there, I actually went down and around um, up to Tawahoose, or is it Tahawoose? So basically from the south, and came up and went to the McIntyre Ironworks area and filmed a good chunk of it there. And that's where I actually was able to get some really good drone flying. So it was overall Adirondacks gorgeous. Would love to go back and explore some more. I hadn't been there for 7 years. So it's definitely a place I would love to go back. Love to do more flying there. Love to do more hiking. Maybe bag Algonquin at some point. But just in general, such a pretty area. It also, because it's Northwood centric, it really does. It reminds me, like I told my brother Cody, I was like, when we were talking about it, I'm like, think of the Northwoods of Wisconsin, but then put some big mountains there. That's the Adirondacks. Because as I was walking through on the trail, there were certain parts I'm like, oh man, this smells like home. Like, so I love that. That's a particular woods or biome, I guess you could say, that I'm super comfortable in. Like, I recognize the plants, I recognize the foliage, I recognize it just, the birds and all that. It all sort of makes sense in my head. So definitely a pretty area. If you haven't done Marcy, don't underestimate it. I made a mistake. I will readily admit that I underestimated it. It is a tough little hard hike, but for me, it was also it was sort of a revelatory hike. I felt that that moment sitting on that rock is probably going to stick with me for a long time. Sitting there for a half hour, first part of it, feeling sorry for myself, and then getting through that and realizing that no, here's a way forward. So it was good. I feel we need those crises of confidence. Those are good for us every so often to have one of those and to work your way through it. When you do Whitney, does anyone actually check your permit? I did not see anyone checking. How would they know? What's the penalty caught without a permit? Eric, I will be able to tell you that in 2 weeks. We do have I got to get my permit. And I can always find out what the deal is. Let's see. How long is the Boundary Peak Summit hike? I want to say, depending on how far you can get your vehicle up Queen Mine Road, depends how long your hike is. I want to say when we did it, we did 9 miles because we weren't able to make it all the way up to Kennedy Point. So if you're coming down the Queen's Mine area, you can go a pretty far distance with a normal car, until you get to literally the mine, and then there's the road from that point up to Kennedy Point is a little sketchy. In particular, when I did it a couple of years ago, there was one area in particular that we just couldn't navigate with the vehicle we had. So, which added basically an extra mile, or extra 2 miles for us. God, Boundary sucked. It's such a just a scree heap. You got to put so much work in that mountain, and it's just as hard coming. Like, that is definitely the one where I feel it is just as hard coming down that thing as going up. Okay, so let's see. Trail up the starboard about 7-mile round trip from Boundary. Love the Adirondacks, pretty up there. Don't want to go. Yep, I would go back too. Yeah. All right, thanks, Stephen. I appreciate it. Marcy is definitely the hardest east of the Rockies. I only have one left to Katahdin, and I'm hoping to knock that out in September, and we'll see. I'll be able to finally make an assessment of these peaks. If I was going to rate them right now, though, New York is definitely in the lead. My Jeep Wrangler cannot make it up the way up to the register. So that road has probably gotten worse, because when we did it, we were in a BMW X5 and we were able to get through a whole lot of stuff except that one part. And we actually literally said, if we would have had a Jeep Wrangler, we could have negotiated it. We could have navigated it. It's definitely one of those areas too where we were going through spots where if I was driving it solo, I would have been a whole lot more reticent. But if you have another person, being able to navigate you from the outside, it becomes somewhat more um, doable. But yeah, so um, Boundary. Don't want to go back to Boundary. Made it about a quarter of a mile from the register. So you actually got farther than we did. We got up. If you would start Queens Mine, you go up that first ramp, and you turn as you go around the corner, and you go up. That's sort of where we had to actually stop. We ended up camping. We pulled off and camped up in that immediate area. There's a little spot up there, and then you can see the road. It dips down, it goes, and it switchbacks up. So, which is what we did the next day. Is we literally walked the rest of that up. So, but yeah. So now with Boundary out of the way, or not Boundary, Boundary's way out of the way. Thank God. Nightmares. Now with Marcy out of the way, I'm actually hoping to get that episode out relatively quick. I know I got to go back and film the stuff at Saratoga, but that's just a day trip, and there's nothing really involved other than just getting up early and going and filming. And then I'm going to try to get that episode out by the middle of August. I was hoping to have something out by August 1st, but writing and filming and all that in Whitney in general is just sort of eating my lunch, and it's not happening. There's the work stuff too that has decided to interfere because, hey, somebody's got to pay the bills. But yeah, so California, really, I am looking forward to it. We've got pack fits great. Got the gear, got everything we need. And it should be ready to go. Like, I am super stoked for this trip. As a filmmaker, I can't wait to shoot in the Alabama hills. I feel like if you have any love of film in general, that is the must visit place. Right outside, as you head up the Whitney Portal, there it is. And I'm looking forward to just seeing, as John Muir says, this range of light and enjoying it for what it's worth. The 4-mile Methuselah bristlecone pine loop in Inyo Forest, that's awesome. The ancient bristlecone pine forest up there. I'm glad you went up there. I think that's such a cool place to be among those trees. These trees that have been around longer than the pyramids. There's something absolutely incredible about seeing a thing that has bore witness, I guess you could say, to, like, it's been around for, well, forever and a day. It feels like 5,000 years. I mean, it's amazing. So the sunrise on Whitney is amazing coming up over the valley. That's what I've heard. That's what I can't wait to see. Do you think you'll do the convention next year? I should probably do the convention next year. I feel like it ain't getting any closer. West Virginia. Like, I didn't go to Pennsylvania. I didn't, the one in Lone Pine or in Bishop fell through for me. And, I have no excuse. I really should probably just go and do the one at Spruce Knob. So yes, I think I'm going to commit to the 2026 convention. I will put one caveat on that. If for some reason I'm going overseas, that might throw a rub into it. But most of the things I want to climb next year are not actually in July. So there is a good chance I should definitely do. Or the 2020. Where's 2025? If So hold on, I got to go back and look at your comment. 2026 is West Virginia. Oh no, I'm not going to do. Probably won't get out to Bishop. There will be. It won't be. There'll be no draw for me really to go there with it. So that's probably part of the challenge. Is the potential? I mean, maybe. I'll say maybe because I still want to do Badwater Basin. I still want to film the basement of America. So potentially, but if I was a betting man, those odds are pretty long right now. So again, I stopped talking the old looking trees now that is thousands of years old. It's pretty wild. Those trees are awesome. Let's see. Whitney was beautiful, daunting, and intimidating. The prominence of steepness is unlike anything I've seen. So, fun thing. I learned when I was doing research on Sierra Nevada is I knew Nevada meant snowy, but Sierra I also knew meant mountain, but it actually means a specific type. The word Sierra actually comes from the Latin for saw, so sawtooth mountains, which I thought was absolutely. I'm like, well, there you go. They were relatively appropriately named, at least for the guy that saw them who named them. Okay, Pretzel, I have a lot to plan for that trip. Boundary Peak, High Point, LP for Death Valley in both states. KC, Kings Canyon, Sequoia. Yeah. Yesterday, bad was 124 degrees when I was there. I want to say, I don't know if I don't know if it's beaten the 134 degree mark yet, but I want to say they were thinking it could this year. Outside of Whitney, the things I still want to do in California are the Badwater Basin, Death Valley. And I still want to go film the highest point in the city of Los Angeles, which I believe is Mount Lukens. And then I want to go up Mount Baldy, but that's not the same. I want to say it's Mount San Antonio is the official name, which I believe is the highest point in Los Angeles County or the greater Los Angeles area. So those are things I still want to do. I feel if I'm going to do, I'm thinking I'm going to try to work New York in this October. Film the 5 boroughs, the highest point in the 5 boroughs. And if I do that, I want to bookend it with Los Angeles as well. I feel those would be nice little additions to the docket of just the series in general. So. The LP hyper for the Nevada Triangle is the tip of the triangle in Grapevine Peak, respectively. There you go. I got the high point for St. Louis City this past week. Nice. It's a hill I've delivered next to for a fair number of times. Nice. I still have not gone in and got the highest point for the city of Philadelphia. I need to do that at some point in the future. So I've thought about trying to add more cities into the docket. But right now, I think I'm going to just safely wrap it with New York City and LA. Mainly because both of them have New York, of course, you have the 5 boroughs, but I'd add Long Island into it as well. So you get these 6 stops. And then LA, you actually get like a decent little peak. Lukens, I think, is like 5,000 some feet. And then if you do the bigger San Antonio, it's like 10 grand. So not to be, it's decent. Like you can actually put a pretty good story around both of those, and there's enough history of the area to really carry it. And filming in New York, man, it's New York City. In LA, you get that same sort of vibe, different one, but that same sort of history, and it's LA and all that with it. So you can have a lot of fun with how you can approach it. So, and sometimes those are the hooks that I look for when I'm telling these stories. So, yeah, Chestnut Hill. I'm looking for the city proper. Were there a lot of other people at the Sonoma Marcy? Oh, it wasn't like Elbert. Elbert was in a league of its own. But there was a decent amount of people on Marcy. I was a little bit shocked. What really actually caught me off guard was how late some people started for it. That actually really caught me off guard. And I'm not talking like after I'd cleared Mount Marcy and I was hiking out from Marcy to the trailhead, because then those people coming in, they might only be going to Mount Mar, or they might only be going to Marcy Dam. So that's like nothing. It's just, hey, an easy day hike. But the people that I was seeing heading up at like 2, 3 in the afternoon, I was like, this is wild. Like, that doesn't seem smart. There was a lot of those. But when I was on the summit, there must have been a good, I'd say about 20 people up there. No, believe it or not, there was next to no bugs at all on Marcy. I was really surprised. And none even during transition, like when it was about 5, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, where you expect, a little bit more. None. It was wild. I think I only had to deal with one sandfly on the way back down. Yeah, I was shocked, Eric. I actually, I thought it'd be worse. I brought bug repellent for that. I had sprayed a little bit on me before I stepped off the trailhead, but I never resprayed. There was no reason for it. So it was like no mosquitoes, no only the one sandfly, no black flies. It was wild. The next day, when I was filming over at Tahoe's in the McIntyre Ironworks, yes, there were a few black flies there, but that was right on the river, or one of the rivers. So I chalked it up to that. I was sort of shocked with the bugs, or the lack of. Does the Continental Divide Trail go on to Elbert? I don't think it does. I could be mistaken, but I don't think it does. So, well, this time went by pretty quick. So let's wrap it up, I think. So now I'm sitting at 41, 41 state high points and 2 territories and 1 federal district. So not too shabby. I'm still on track. I hope, to have good luck next week at Whitney. I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling confident. I'm going with a crew that has been up there before, so that helps. And, I'm really feeling, if Whitney goes well, I'll definitely be looking forward to Katahdin. And then, finishing out at 43 for the year. I made a real quick comment, like what I'm thinking about for next year. And I'm thinking about Hood in end of May, beginning of June. I'm thinking Idaho in August, and I'm trying to figure out how to work granite into there as well. So that would be the 3 for next year. If I can figure out, if I can make more time, I might try to, well, if I can figure out a way to get to Hawaii next year, I might try to throw that one into it as well. So, yeah. So, Bill, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Ron, yes, thank you very much. Slow and steady on the switchbacks. Hey, you know what? I don't lie when I say I'm the slowest man on the mountain. So, I'm looking forward to it, and we'll see how it goes. On that note, it's quarter after. Mount Elburz optional side hike they can do since CD forms hypotenuse connecting the South Elbert Trail to the North Trail. They can leave the CDT at one trail and Summit Elbert. Okay, good to know. Good to know. That's a good day of hiking right there. Not a bad way to do it. So you could actually put that on top of it. Awesome. Well, on that note, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful evening and a good 2 weeks, and I will see you guys in August. Have a good night.